Hello and good morning. Welcome to this terrific Thursday morning. It's time for the AM show. And of course, we're kicking it all off with some inspiration. Time for messages from the morning man. And here is today's message. One of my favorite primary school teachers was Mrs. Auku. And she was probably the kindest, warmest, most concerned teacher at the university primary school. She used to organize extra tutoring sessions in her garage at home. And all the kids in the neighborhood would attend these classes to brush up on their maths and English. And sometimes she would organize quizzes and spelling bees, with each one of us scrambling to come out on top and win the coveted prize of black and white toffees. And one afternoon, halfway through the class, Mrs. Auku suddenly got called away to attend to some urgent business. Now, she had announced earlier that we were going to have a spelling bee, and we had all been working ourselves into a frenzy of anticipation over it. One of the older kids, a boy named Nathan, who, it must be said, was far from the sharpest tool in the box, suddenly walked up to the front of the class and told Mrs. Auku to leave him in charge of the spelling bee. "I will give them plenty words to spell," he confidently assured her. Mrs. Auku smiled and asked in her throaty voice, "Hey, Nathan, you will organize the spelling bee? Okay, spell present." Nathan cleared his throat, screwed up his face in concentration, and started to spell P-R-E. Then he paused for a moment and started snapping his fingers rapidly. Zent, Crowd was spelling it then. Now, while the whole class was, in fits of uncontrollable laughter, Mrs. Auku patted young Nathan on the back and said, "My boy, you can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. Work hard on yourself so you can better help others." And to this day, those words have remained with me. You can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. How true. Yet almost every day, we all try to do this. Every Ghanaian, for example, talks about their hatred of corruption. We express our disgust at how leaders are robbing us blind, rebranding buses, bribing MPs, building hotels, trafficking drugs, selling access to presidents, taking kickbacks from contractors. We rage at them and demand accountability and honesty from them. But not once do we ask ourselves where on earth that honesty and accountability is meant to come from. Our leaders are chosen from amongst us. So if we ourselves are not filled with honesty and accountability, where will honest and accountable leaders come from? You can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. We despair at the youth of today. No morals whatsoever, no manners, no respect for the elderly, no regard for tradition and culture, no sense of consequences, immoral and lazy. In fact, if you listen to our lamentations about our youth, you will imagine the future of our species to be nothing short of apocalyptic. But where did these baby terrorists come from? Were they not sitting right there in the kitchen when you were gossiping viciously about your neighbor? Were they not right there on the sofa when you were insulting your spouse? Were they not sitting in the back seat when you were jumping the red light, driving on the hard shoulder, and bribing the policeman who stopped you? Do you think they were born without a sense of consequence? Didn't they inherit it from you? You can't fill teacups from an empty kettle. My dear friend, today's message is simple. Our society is a reflection of ourselves. You can't fix any of life's problems without first fixing yourself. In aeroplanes, during the safety briefing, the captain informs all passengers that if the oxygen masks are deployed from the ceiling, adults must first put on their own masks before helping children with theirs. All right? In other words, first fix yourself, then you can fix others. That is the correct sequence by which we can save this nation. And we better do it fast, because corruption and violence and selfishness and infighting and incompetence and impunity are fast sucking the pressure out of our cabin. So let's get our oxygen masks on now. My name is Kojo Yankson, and from this moment, I'm filling my kettle. Good morning, Ghana folk.